Hey, welcome everybody to Battle Pirates Crib. Um, I think the posts that were made by both Wrong Thinker and CM Chris have sort of put the bounty on the back burner as far as things we may want to discuss. So let me go ahead and introduce everybody from left to right. Dr. Death.
Hello.
Cannon Fodder.
Good evening.
And this is Hefe. So I'm going to put Dr. Death on present, and we can get started with OP11, Refactor, and then we'll get the bounty, and then the fact they stuck some new prizes in the FM. But yeah, whatever. So let's go. I think we're going to start with Outpost 11, which is happening next week. I'm assuming during the normal Tuesday, Wednesday update. General update of buildings, increased resources, health, etc. No PvP defense upgrades for the moment. Turrets or walls, these will come later. I'm not sure if that means no defense platform upgrades. Again, they're going to provide us more information on their Kickside live show tomorrow on Facebook. So we'll have more information at this point, but some of this stuff worries me, but maybe it shouldn't worry me because we don't have all the details at this point. And advanced resource generators. This one I find really interesting because the advanced resources I assume are base parts, titanium, and uranium. Since now they're generated in your base, are you now able to steal them from other people?
Now that's a good question.
It's very possible.
That would be the assumption. I mean, if you hit an advanced resource generator, and maybe if it's not banked, you can steal it. I don't know how that's going to work. I guess they're going to explain this stuff. New conquest yard level plus some changes to that building so players can get at earlier levels. Okay. Anybody want to speculate on that one?
Yeah,
go ahead.
I think they're going to reduce the required level that you have to be at in order to get the start the original conquest yard.
Hopefully they reduce the build time on it as well.
Yeah, but what if there's a new level? So yeah, I mean, there's that part as far as players can get it at earlier levels, which is spelled out. But is there decreased build time?
Yeah, I'd be curious what the
decreased titanium requirements.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, I don't see if it's a weight reduction. I mean, we don't really have a weight problem too often, but that may prove useful, like adding Legion to it or something to that effect. I mean, it'd be interesting to see, but I doubt it's going to be quicker build time, but that'd be great.
Yeah, or reduce titanium requirements because people don't like to get titanium, but they're also adding in the advanced resource generators. Yeah. So how do these all play together?
Don't know.
We won't know till tomorrow. I mean, they're definitely building up their show with, putting things out there that I think are like a little bit worrisome because like number 2, no PvP defense upgrades while we're adding health to probably your outpost really throws everybody's bubble pad into just
turmoil.
Yeah. Well, what's going to happen then?
Well, I was doing some rudimentary numbers, right? And just based off of the last upgrade from 9 to 10, if we go with that same percentage of health increase again, you will actually have to walk the entire base and hit the outpost before you will even do 50%.
I think they've seen the level of escalation that happened between Tier 6 and Tier 7 and OP9 and OP10. I think we've got it from their Kickstarter live shows. is seeing that as a mistake. Just the huge amount of escalation and power creep that occurred with that. I think they see that as a mistake. So I'm hoping that doesn't occur. I mean, I'm actually hoping as far as the OP, we don't actually get a base health increase. We just get more armor slots or something like that.
Me too. Me too, for sure. Any increase in the HP level of the op is just making an already lopsided bubble pad, even worse. I mean, it would be ridiculous, and I truly hope they don't do that.
Like, yeah, because we won't be able to balance it. We won't be able to balance it without getting new turrets.
I won't. Yeah, I won't do it, and I'll try to think out how long it takes to build and base parts or whatever is viable.
Well, again, you probably will not be able to use base parts.
Probably, yeah. That's why I said whichever else, if it's viable, and try to plan ahead and kind of based on when they say it's you say it's dropping next week. Okay, well then what else is coming, and try to figure out when I actually am going to need it. Because right now I don't really have any use for it.
Yeah, unless we know, because you're going to be required to get Outpost 11 to do any of these other things.
Certainly.
So it really depends what the benefits are in other places.
They're going to have to make it pretty beneficial.
Yeah. Expert builds.
They'd be like the people they hire. Is that what that is? They're gonna.
Yes, we're gonna. Yes, you file a ticket and they'll tell you how to build your ship.
Yes, Benjamin. I might just coin it. I don't know. No, I don't coin. 2-week builds and things like that. I'm not that fanciful. I'm not the Monopoly man, but
I won't either.
No, but like I was saying, you got to. It's like anything in this game. Just because it comes up doesn't mean you have to build it. Doesn't mean you have to win it. Doesn't what makes the most sense? Like I'm not going to make my base everything in front of my op useless. I mean, like you have to kill all of it to bubble me. No, that's ignorant.
Yeah, and there could be something associated with Outpost 11 once we get into the refactor that might deal with who can hit who.
Sure.
So you might be better off if, depending on your level and the way you play the game, staying at Outpost 10. But we don't know these things yet. It's just things to think about once we start to see the facts roll in, the data roll in.
I'm really curious about this expert build stuff though, because that's the first thing that came to my mind is the experts that when you send your ticket in and they go, well, I have no idea, I'll send it up. I'm like, is that person really necessary in the chain of command?
I really don't think that's what it's going to be. That would be amusing, but I really doubt that's what it's going to be.
I'd go for amusing first and
yes,
logical second. So
yes. Let's go to something that everybody's been asking for is, and nobody's going to have a problem with the War Academy allowing for additional fleet storage or hull storage, ship storage.
No, yeah, that would. Now, I hope they add to the actual amount you can hold on top of the storage. I mean, I know it's a really small issue, but just the amount of time it takes for the stupid thing to load and the amount of time it takes to move the ship.
Oh, yeah.
I probably have a patience problem, and I understand that's why I coin, but that's just driving me crazy.
I don't even use my storage.
I don't even know what's in it. Like, I know there's stuff there, but I don't even remember what's in there. Could be like, I don't know, Lost City of Atlantis, Jimmy Hoffa's body. Who knows?
I know I got a few things in there that I know that I threw in there just because I'll never get rid of them. Like I've got the that old flag that used to have the Cairo field around it.
Oh, the Frostburn?
Yeah, I got the Frostburn in there, and I got the Hellwraith flag and a few other things like that. That I put all that time into building. I'm just, you know what I mean. But other than that, I don't use storage for nothing.
Yeah, as we see, there's certain people that have already melted because we got our dragons. A lot of people already melted down their icebreakers, and this might be a good home for them because, as you know, as we'll get into, there is a
TLC.
There is a TLC that's going on currently that basically you could only really hit with icebreakers, and a lot of people thought, okay, I have the Inferno Dragon, so boom, you know,
or even monos with Zelos. You know, I mean, like because
Can't-
nobody
can't-
used that.
No, you can't use the Zelos.
Yes, I
Zelos
understand. That's my
locked
point.
out of the target.
I understand. That's my point. You know, that why would they do that? I mean, basically, like Hefe says, only people with icebreakers pretty much can hit the target. So, because for all those low-level players trying to catch up that have multiple fleets for their FM. Anyway, moving along.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think we got the main points across as far as oh my.
Side note: is there a theory with the women's football player? Or is it the 11? Was it the 11 that we're going for?
Yeah, the 11.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to clarify. I mean, I know that's important. There's a process there. So.
Yes, it is. All right. There's a 5-step or a 5-point post that Wrongthinker put out regarding the refactor. This first point is, it's whatever. It's telling us what we already know.
Sure.
That we have all the main Conqueror halls. We're probably going to see flagships at some point in the future, and then we're going to get the last defender, the Siren, during the upcoming bounty. And they're doing this so both them and both Kixeye and the players can understand what's going on in the game at that point in time. And I'm sorry for the wall of text, but we know who's paying for this wall. So let's go to the next one. 6 to 8 weeks away is when this is going to happen. They don't want to rush it, but it's going to be earliest. We're halfway through September, so Halloween is the earliest we're going to see any of these things happen. So we're still going to go through multiple bounties. They say they're not going to cancel bounties or cancel PvP or anything of that nature, but it's not happening right around the corner. It's a ways off, and it could be even further off.
See, I think that this is a mistake. I'm going to say it. I think it's a mistake. We're already bleeding players for 2 reasons. One, because of content overload. Players are just getting so burned out. You know what I mean? And 2, because of the fact that PvP is so freaking broke that your heavy hitters are like, why bother playing anymore? Yep. So waiting 6 to 8 weeks to do anything to the game in this area is a massive mistake. Now, I understand it can take 6 to 8 weeks to take in get the roll this out properly, but they could cancel bounty until the refactor. You know what I mean? Then you wouldn't have the content overload pushing players out of the game. You know what I mean? We'd get a break.
I can see the good and bad in that. You know, I mean, there's always 2 sides to it. I mean, people get bored too. If there's nothing to build, nothing to do, yeah, I think.
Well, but you still got the FM, which they keep jacking the amount of points needed up every week.
Sure, but I mean, a lot of this stuff we deal with. You know, it's not like, I don't know. I try to think of it as, how is it new? Like, how is it a new problem? Is not doing this creating a new problem, or is the time frame? My biggest issue with it is like it's too long. I mean, that's simple as that. There's nothing. I mean, nothing else really is a worry. The bounty, I'm not a fan. Haven't been from the beginning, so I kind of don't even put that in my discussion of my issue with it. Yeah, this is too long to wait for a remotely balanced PvP experience at all. And I don't even stress balanced, because I don't ever see that happening. I think everybody's notion of it is different, and it'll be that way for some and not way for others. But with, people want to go out and hit, and they can't. So, I mean, to me, they need to speed this up.
Well, except for this point, I see all these people on the Kixeye's new Discord talking about the fact that at this point in Bounty, there's certain alliances that have builds out there with the Witch Doctor that seem to be able to run over every base. I'm not sure if that's true, but that's what they're talking about. Like,
Sure.
unless you got the right guard fleet, you're not going to be able to do Bounty. I don't know the truth associated with this, and I don't know, but I see people talking about it that are in, some of these alliances that would have been. What?
Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
But that might be knowledgeable about this. So I don't know what's.
I can't say for all builds. I've watched some Witch Doctor hits, and I mean it seems to work. A run over. I don't know if it's a correct way of saying it.
Okay.
Well, no, I'm not trying to mince your words in that sense. I just meaning it probably depends on a lot of factors. I mean, most of the ones I saw were missing some key pieces that didn't stop him. But I can't say. I've been hit by 3 with Sloss, and I wasn't impressed. And this was I know a knowledgeable player and did well. He may have just screwed up in my base, and I think I'm doing better than I am, and that happens enough. But yeah, I don't. It doesn't seem to be that way. I'm sure it'll happen, but that's always the case. I mean, that's to some level.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think. I think the bigger problem is other people's inability to, inability to go out and effectively interact with people of their level and tech level very well. I mean, without having that particular niche, build. That's been my problem for a long time as we discuss this, is that you have to have that. If you don't have the one thing, you can do nothing. And that doesn't make for, to me, an enjoyable experience.
No, it don't.
So let's go on to the next one. It starts to get interesting. Not stuff that we.
Are you saying everything previously was not interesting?
Yeah, it was whatever.
I'm kidding.
No, what you said, but what they're saying.
Yeah.
We're removing over damage and damage resistances from PvP.
This scares me.
Yeah. This is without. I mean, as you'll see later, as far as the bounty prizes, there's a new wall that comes out that doesn't include resistances versus the Draconian wall did include resistances. So you could jump to the conclusion that your turrets and your buildings and your outposts and whatnot, all your overlays, all your armors and whatnot, and your transformers that add to your resistances and whatnot, those are no longer going to be relevant at this point in time, which is a little bit scary in my mind, because that's a big part of the game as far as putting defenses in the proper place and whatnot.
Do you think that could be an aspect of this Op 11? It's adding what would have been there with specials, perhaps, or you can fit different things that would effectively do the same thing.
Or they need to change these, or they're going to, either I'm completely reading this wrong, or they're going to change the overlays in these armors from resistance to deflection. Which could be a possibility, but the whole problem with that is now you need to refit them constantly and win them constantly.
Lifespan.
Because deflections go up, resistances stay the same.
Indeedy.
Well, I think that's the whole reason why they've been going towards deflection instead of resistance, is so that they can try and force players to constantly chase, the carrot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, a new way of doing it. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
They've always done it from the jump.
But that means that all of our old tech will be obsolete in a month. You know what I mean? They're going to bring out the refactor and go to tier 8, and then everything that was before that is junk.
I mean, depends on how it comes out. Yeah. I mean, we hope not, because the whole theory and premise of this refactor is balance. So if it immediately and kind of permanently creates never-ending imbalance, well, that's kind of a big fail then, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. And then the second point I brought, we don't want battle parts to require a calculator to play and change. And this change helps with that. I'm assuming that there's going to be, when they make a statement like that, there's going to be massive changes associated with the displays we see when we build our turrets, when we build our ships, because it's our PvP ships, because those displays have been based around resistances, not around deflection. I mean, you have to, Wayne has his calculator that you can go to online. People have created their own Excel spreadsheets to figure this out. They're fairly complicated for the regular player that wants to, like, okay, I want to go hit bases and do whatever, because the numbers are, well, in some parts wrong.
Yeah.
Like with the fire supports and things like that. And at this point, and they require a lot of calculations, and you need to know what they're including in their calculations. And that part's a little bit weird. So they need to have a complete redo as far as the information that's provided in the graphical interface in the game to even really create a situation where players feel comfortable with builds at all. You're still going to require a calculator, but like a spreadsheet with a zillion links and whatnot, that needs to be eliminated. But I still think you need a calculator or at least a pen and pencil and a good ability to do some math in your head.
Yeah, I mean, it should require some level of know-how and thought process, certainly, but it's all the inside info and the stuff you can't know unless you go out, spend an hour testing or whatever. Some of that stuff, to me, though, can be useful and is great and all, but a lot of it puts a lot of people out. And I'm not an all-inclusive, everybody gets a trophy guy, but you want people to want to be involved. You want people to think they have a chance and to feel included in it, because in the end, that gets more people playing. That makes the game better. Pure and simple.
Yeah.
Yeah, but with them, here's another concern that I have over this post, though. They're taking away the overdamage, right? They're going to streamline everything, which deflection, I can see that actually streamlining, because you're going to know if I add 100 deflection on this and 100 deflection on that, I got 200, you know what I mean? So it's going to make the math a lot easier. But here is the problem. Deflection is static.
Yes.
Which means there's not going to ever be a balance in base hitting, because either the ship's going to have a high enough deflection to walk the base, or the base is going to have a high enough deflection to stand.
Well, and what I was saying about that is I feel like the fire support probably is your biggest problem with that. It makes it very difficult to balance it. I mean, because essentially anything that is affected by them, you put there and they become very powerful. Great, fine. You could balance that to that. But if it's not there, then it's useless. It's impossible to do both. You can't have a turret that's useful away from 5 fire supports, but also not be overpowered. You know what I mean? Like
except for corrosive turrets.
Well, yes, because and that's why I was happy with that. Other than the fact that they kind of went a little, too exciting on it. I mean, they made it to where nothing could, so that part I thought was a mistake. But at least making them valuable by themselves, I was excited. I'm like, finally. I mean, this turret building has a purpose other than a bonus.
And they need to get rid. They need to get rid of the stacking bonus, because that's cookie cuttering a base.
I agree as well. I agree as well. Both those things are for me as somebody who enjoys building my base. I hate that, because I know I have to build something simply because it has to be there. Well,
yeah, like I got freaking like putting Halo 2s in for the missile to get up to missile.
Yeah. Well,
why? Who wanted to put a Halo 2 in their base? You know what I mean?
And I don't think adding more of the good ones is really the solution. You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't make me feel better. This one's a little bit better, but like you said, the same problem with a EX2. You put it all by itself, it's useless.
Yeah.
Or whatever. That whole mechanic, it was just ignorant from the jump, in my opinion.
Yeah, and somebody's been complaining about that for like 8 months or whatever. But
I don't know anybody.
We won't talk about him.
Who would do that?
Yeah. Yeah, because it's returning it back to the old style. And I think they've done certain things that have done that. A lot of the short range turrets are much more functional than they used to be. And then you have some special turrets that are doing they're doing damage outside of that, the tier bonus. As examples like the Cold Snap.
Yeah.
Cold Snap 2 is shutting down the stun CIC.
Yeah, the EMPs.
Yeah. And then you also have things like the phlogiston launcher it doesn't have to be, the shockwave damage associated with that does not have to be in the range of the fire supports.
Sure.
And you can also, just as an extra tip, you can also put on the range extender that lowers the damage, and that should not be impacting that. So there's a couple of turrets that I want to keep, no matter what, in the phlogiston launchers and the shockwaves, and then maybe the Axiom 2, but I'm not sold on that yet. And that's just because of minimum damage and a huge range.
Sure.
Those are the ones that I sort of like all by themselves, even if you aren't devoting all of your, your turrets over to a particular tier and damage type. So, should we move on?
Moving along.
All right. This is also, I find, disturbing. I'm not sure who complained that hitting bases takes too long. That we need to have the prep and killing a base occur in less than 5 minutes. I'm not sure. I don't know where this came from, except for people associated with bounty. And I can understand with bounty, but all we need to do is lower the points requirement for the prizes, and then we're all good, right?
I agree.
But as far as, like, people are spending coins to repair, they don't need to have it done in 3 minutes. They're getting less bang for their buck as far as time and whatnot, because you're decreasing the time, on both sides as far as the attacker and the defender. This one I do not understand, and I don't understand the origin of it.
I don't either. It kind of harkens back to one of your worries where it becomes Battlefield Wars or something, where it's just like you just click and watch and see what happens, sort of thing. Like, I don't see how in the world they could possibly do that. Like, I really don't. And I mean, it makes no sense given what most all of us know about base hitting, what we've done, our experiences, what you have to do to get into challenging bases. This makes no sense. I got nothing.
I fully agree. It makes no sense because, I can think of bases that I've spent over a half an hour to hit. You know what I mean? Send in my gunboat, take a picture, study. Then I'll pick one fleet to go take out just one little section of the base. You know what I mean? Another fleet will be out there to hit the guard, and then I'll bring in the baser to clear the base out. And that's fun. That's strategy. That's actually taking time to, figure out how am I going to crack this base. You know what I mean? And if they do away with that, to where the most you're ever going to spend on one base is 5 minutes, you're not going to be doing that.
Well, I just don't see how they can. I mean, I'm not a player that spends 30 minutes on a base. You're lucky to see me spend 5, but I also don't advocate for the game to change. I want an option, but I don't think it should change to bend to my will. That's ridiculous. But I still don't see how they can make this claim that they can do this. I really don't. I'd be curious in what world they think this will pan out.
Oh, they're going to just make bases
weakening bases in such a way that this would happen.
Right, they're going to make bases farms.
But again, it's like saying on one hand, we're gonna increase the global economy or whatever, but then we're going to take away all your money. Oh, huh? Like, it doesn't. You can't say balance on one end and this on the other. It doesn't. It does. It's just. It's no. Sorry. Doesn't.
They weaken there's a lot of players that do PvE, and the whole part of the PvP that they do is just base defense. And a lot of players take pride in their bases. If they weaken bases, that's going to piss off a lot of players.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I don't like, I know I've said before, but what pisses off players and what doesn't is probably very difficult for them to really manage, other than a kind of holistic sense of just a general. Because no matter what you do, somebody's going to be annoyed by it, and probably by a decent percentage, because everybody does what they do. But with this, it has to me, it has to make sense. Like, this just doesn't even make sense based on the history of the game, how everybody plays. Like, how can you do this and claim, like, it's ridiculous. Like you said, making them farms. How in the world is that going to make happy players, PvPers, and the part that really just makes me chuckle is this keeps PvP fast and visceral. Visceral, really? I hate phrases like this, like trying to make something into what it isn't. It's just a game. It's not visceral. Sorry. Anyway.
Yes, that's true. I mean, it's with this, I really question where they're getting their information from the players. If this is from something in the surveys, I've not seen any questions that makes me think they come to this conclusion. This is probably the worst part about it, because, again, like I brought up, like, both players are going to have to either spend time or money associated with it, and now you're closing that window of experience on them. This makes no sense to me whatsoever. So, all right, should we go to the next one, Dr. Death? All right, there's their catch-all of. I mean, we're talking about different matchups. These are things that they may be doing in the future.
Well, now, the one thing I like, there's one sentence in there that I like. If they can pull it off, is going to make me happy. They're exploring more accurate matchmaking rules that don't exclusively rely on base level. We've been telling them for years they can't rely on base level.
Yeah. I know that there's been some of the GD people have been working on that. We saw a little taste of that associated with the expeditions, where you see like a fleet score. I think it's going to follow that way. As far as, like, they're going to create a score.
A max level of your fleet.
Yeah, or they're going to do some things to figure out what, if you're just, that fleet, because you understand that fleet score that you get in your
expedition. And it tells you that'll never work in here, and it goes and it works. Yeah, that one.
Yeah, and so I think that's what they're going to try and use here, because I think they've been doing work associated with that, and that's a good idea. I mean, some people will complain about it because they don't, well, if I'm in my alliance and I need to go get my ally points, I want to go hit the level 81s, and they complain about that. And it's like, oh, okay, well, maybe the game is going to change for you.
Well, if they base it off of fleet level, do away with the base level cap, right? And instead of having it based off of base level, combat be based off of fleet level, then you can have a player that's a level 100 go out and hit a base that's a level 50, but he's going to have to go back and grab old tech and build an old fleet to do it.
New cruisers.
Yeah, and it really depends on how they're going to do it.
And that would be fun, because that would engage everybody. You know what I mean? Because then a level 50 player would be getting hit and be battling, but he wouldn't be getting hit by someone that's walking his base in 30 seconds with the latest, greatest fleet. You know what I mean? Instead, if they want to go hit that level 50, well, they got to come out with, that tier where, that level old tech, you got to, so if you want to hit somebody like that, then you got to go back and say, okay, well, I can build this.
But do you think that the current group design group has the knowledge to understand the use of old technology and things of that nature to make this work out for both the offense and the defense side?
No,
gaming
because
loophole.
their answer right now to old technology is just trying to block it out.
Yeah. So
Well, and with all of this, like I said, you mentioned Dr. Death of getting engagement from those lower players. I think that's a bottom up sort of thing as opposed to a top down. I mean, you got to give them more viable opportunities and more viable tech. That's just it's such a, we talk about binary and base hitting. Well, it's binary in the PvE world and all the things you need to do on the other side of the game for those lower levels, because as things change, I mean, they're not, if they come in at the wrong week or the wrong month or whatever, it could be months before they have even remotely anything.
I mean, well, let's just be honest. If the new player comes into the game now, the only way they're going to be here 6 months from now is if an alliance picks them up and carries them.
Or they just have lots of disposable income and not a whole lot of, control.
I mean, because there's no way a new player can come in and use research tech to get anywhere in this game.
And I think that's been one of the bigger mistakes is, I mean, most of us, I mean, all three of us started with research. And and it was exciting because you were like, I can't wait to get that next thing or progress or, update this so I can, I can finally get the hammerhead.
Or the sea wolf. Oh, man.
Yeah.
I was drooling for the sea wolf. I remember that.
Oh, yeah. And then that, like I said, you were progressing at a level equal to everything. Like it all kind of worked out pretty well. It took forever, but the way it is now, and I don't think they can go back to that necessarily, but I feel like there's something that can be done that makes more sense. That because I started coining probably a year plus, like really actually coining after I started. Like I just played and I just whatever, blah blah blah. And I started really wanting to do stuff, and I'm like, I'm gonna have to spend some money. Okay. You know what I mean? Like you may not get half these people to that point the way, or you definitely won't really the way it is now.
Oh no, so anybody that comes in the game now, they're not going to throw money at the game because there's nothing in the game that's going to entice them to do it.
Doesn't seem to be. I mean, again, like I said, you have those people with impulse controls, but issues. But that to me is probably more important than any of the other stuff. I mean, PvP is important, obviously. We all want it fixed and yay, but I want more people in the game. Right. I want more people to hit. I want to see more people hitting each other. I don't want to see the same 10 people yelling at each other all the time about who hit who and how much they did. And I don't care. That's great.
But if you look at the game and if you go back in the history of the game and you look at it, most of your coiners, there's a few of them that, they just got impulse control and they got wallets way bigger than their heads. But most of your coiners came in, played through the research, you know what I mean? We're spending a lot of money at that point and got hooked into the game. And then when they got hooked into the game after they'd played 6 months to a year, they're like, well, I've already invested this time, so I'm going to invest my money too.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And Kick Size lost that completely because there's nothing in the lower part of the game for a lower level player that's going to get them anywhere. I mean, you can't do any of those, standard TLCs that's on the tower that's in your base every day and get any tech. Or do any research and get any tech that's going to let you do anything in the game. You can't hit any targets in the game anywhere with any of that stuff.
Well, hopefully this refactor will take some of that in consideration. I mean, who knows? I mean, I'm sure I hope they have people that are looking at that as well. I mean, as like I said, a holistic, whole game approach at, continuing to put out a better product. We'll see. I don't know. I'm one of those people like with them. I give them way too much leniency, not because I think they necessarily deserve it, but again, I don't want to be upset about it. Like, why? What is it? It doesn't benefit me. It doesn't make me happy. So I just hope and see what happens. Oh no, that didn't work out. Okay.
No, see, I don't really get upset over there's things that scare me, you know what I mean? But overall, when it comes to the game, I don't get upset over what they do in the game just because of the fact, I chose to spend my money.
Yeah.
And because this is what I chose to do for entertainment. If I didn't spend it on the game, I'd go spend it at the movie theater or someplace else, you know what I'm saying? So I'm going to spend the money on entertainment. That entertained me, so I spent it. So I don't really get upset on that aspect. But if they continue to screw the game up, then I'll just walk away and find something else.
Yeah. I think they're making some decent steps. I think the Discord thing has been helpful in a lot of areas, and it's given them kind of a better, interaction with players, and it isn't in private, among private people that, all that, because I don't think that's necessarily healthy either. Whoever it is, I mean, regardless of who the people are, it's people knowing and other people not knowing, and then somehow their opinion is any more valuable than anybody else's.
Well,
And I don't know if
see
that's true.
yeah, that's something I'll agree with you on. That's something that's
Just
really,
one thing.
yeah, that's something that upsets me just because of the fact that, yeah, they've got their little group of players, that they've let in and everything
Sure.
else. But then if you look at it, those players come back, and even though they're under an ADA, they're still telling their alliances, you know what I mean, and spreading it
Well,
out into a group of players that
that's
all
my
have an
point.
advantage in the game over everybody else.
Like I said, my main point really is that I think this is an improvement, upon something like that, where at least with Discord, there's an open forum, and I mean, there's probably still private stuff going on, but at least there's more, and it's not the regular forums that's just angry hate mail. So I think I'm happy that came out, and that's one of the things I've been, I thought was good that they've been doing. So there's always good. So have we beat this one to death, or did Hefe bail on us?
Yeah, he might have gone to get him another
Yeah,
beer.
yeah. I hear nothing from his end, so I don't know if we're supposed to just talk till he comes back. I'm sure we can gripe for a while. We're good at that. But I'm like I said, I'm optimistic about what happens, and mostly because I want to be, because I want it to be better, and I want to, get back into PvP again, because I'm not a sloth hitter. I don't have the patience for them. I don't enjoy them. So
I don't either.
like I've said, I like the stop and go type fleets, where you can kind of pick it apart as you go and plan your angles and and so on. I find that enjoyable, but that's not really hasn't really been an option, for a
No,
little
it's
while
not.
now. So my MSC fleet, I enjoy tweaking it and having fun, but
Yeah, now it's obsolete.
yeah, it's useless. I refit it the day before it became useless too, just because
Are
it.
you serious?
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I'm one of those people with impulse control, but that's what I enjoy. Not the cleaning it part, but the fixing it, the tweaking it, the learning
Yeah.
by playing, by hitting bases. I learn what works and what doesn't, and then I try something else, and that didn't quite work. Let me try this, and then I go back and hit, and that to me is it. Like I don't care what somebody else thinks of my base hitting ability or my base. Really, I mean it's great, good for you, but
And
I just
that's
want fun.
something. But that's something they put they did a hatchet job to, because I know if you're like me back in the day, you probably had a few other players that you got with, and you would spend hours when a new ship come out working on builds.
Yeah, a lot of times. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
The,
now
the,
they've made
the,
it so cookie cutter
well,
that
it's cookie cutter and it's ignorant at the same time. I mean,
Yeah, because the numbers are hard to, that's the problem. The numbers are hard to come
yeah, and you
by
have to
because
you have to cram in stuff that makes no sense. I don't need a thrower on a scattergun ship. Like, why
no,
do I might in the old days I might throw some antis on there. Okay, that makes sense. That's doing something. I mean, the thrower has some benefit. I mean, it does something. Like on my MSC fleet, it was helpful in a small way because it had splash and it would kill certain things okay and fine. But I hate making my fleet weaker to simply fill a check mark. It drives me crazy. It's just like this makes no sense. So sorry if I cut you off there, Hefe.
no problem. I
I
mean,
didn't
should we
realize
move
you were.
on from the refactor? I mean, we've been
We
going on
tried to,
for.
but you were gone, and we didn't know if we should or not.
Okay, okay,
So
well,
we
let's go.
decided
We'll go
to
to the
go
low
back
hanging
to
fruit.
griping. So
All right. Yes. Uh, this is objective 4. So I'm not
this
sure
time
what
around,
level these people are,
okay.
but asking them to hit a subsector skirmish
Yeah,
base
yeah.
at level 4 is. I mean, at one point I think they asked for like 4 or 5 of these things.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
they come a few times. Yeah,
Yeah, this is not. I mean, because it's a pirate, sort of a piratey game, right?
Sure.
Not everybody wants to, feel beholden to somebody else. They want to be able to do it themselves. But
no, I don't. I never have. I would just not do it. Honestly, like I would not do it. And what would happen is I would maybe mention it and somebody would make me, because otherwise it would never happen. I don't ask for anything. I just, not how I do things.
Yeah, but to progress, you need to be able to hit that. And basically,
Certainly.
if by yourself, you need to have prototype seekers.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to be advanced in the game to get past objectives.
Well, no, you got to
have virtually no other purpose.
No, you got to have the prototype seekers. But if you got the prototype seekers, you're going to need someone else in there with you, or you're going to take massive damage. And when you get up to some of the higher objectives where you need to have 4 or 5 of these.
Now,
do 4 or 5, you don't need 4 or 5 in an hour. You just need 4 or 5, period. Now,
do you have to do the siege one on some of them too? So you have to do both?
I don't think so. I think they're all skirmish, as I recall. I didn't, I went through this 2 years ago. They just need to take a good look at what they're doing there.
I don't see why they can't just make it research and leave all the you have to jump through this hoop and that hoop, or make the hoops much
or just lower the bar. I mean, this is a really high bar.
Yeah, like that's, and again, that's part of the problem we run into a lot, where they come up with something, they mess with it a little bit, and then they forget about it, and they just roll on, and it never gets even hardly addressed again. Nothing. They don't ever improve it. They don't really tweak it. They don't care about it anymore. It's gone. So and it just creates problems for people that come later. They're like, oh, what is this? How do I do this? For Pete's sake, just naming it when it's first the subsector, whatever. Nobody even knows what that is. Now maybe, but before, when it was just a DRAC base, satellite so-and-so, and people are like, what is that? I'm like, it's just a DRAC base. They're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, they really need to change this. I mean, because I did this for, the players that are coming up. I mean, personally, my issue in my sector, getting the 120s and the 121s. I'm not sure in your guys' sector if it's as bad. 90 to 95% of the 120s and 121s I hit in the Forsaken mission, I have to go out of sector.
Yeah. Well, the locator
they're not spawning good.
No, I mean, because we got all these 105s, 114s, so nobody hits.
And I hit the 114s.
Yeah, I hit the 114s
because I can auto them. I can't. I for whatever reason, I don't have very good luck with autoing on the 120s, because it gets stuck in the middle with like 3 walls in between it, and it just doesn't work. And I'm tired of messing with the fleet, so I can hit the 114s. I did all what I needed to do today with room to spare on the fleet, just autoing the whole time. Cool. So,
I mean,
but I agree. It's the same sort of thing with a lot of these things. Like I've said before, I think you could put most of this stuff in a tower and be done with it. I mean, I know there's concern. Somebody was concerned with sniping, and I understand that, and that's makes sense. But on top of that, it's just there. You don't have to look for it. It's there. You just say, I want to hit this, and go, bloop, and you hit it. I mean, I don't know why that is, why they want so much stuff littering the map. Like, it's so much stuff you can't even hardly see the water anymore in some places.
Yeah, and it creates lag.
Exactly.
If it was all on the tower, then that would take care of a lot of the lag.
I would think. I mean, I don't know. I fix cars. I don't fix, coding, but I would think it makes logical sense to me that it would. Less sprites on the map, that should improve things. But yeah.
I guess let's move on.
Move it on. Bye, little fruit lady.
Yes, fruit lady. That's what we'll call her for now. Bounty 14. It's getting harder and harder to find bounty, pictures on the internet related to bounty. But I was able to find this one, a 14-pack of bounty minis. But one of the good things on the right-hand side is that it appears that we're going to get in the locator, we're going to get stuff for the replica bases, our opponents.
Yeah. So it looks like in the locator, yeah.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. I mean, who knows how well this is going to work, but let's go on to to bounty, even though it's an afterthought.
Now, the first thing I'd like to say that I see kicks I did good, and we talked about this pre-show, is that we went from 120,000 points needed to get the new prizes down to 70,000 points to get the new prizes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But that's about all I can say that's good.
And that's it.
Okay.
That's end of the lesson.
Any prizes that are jumping out besides the new ones, which are the top 4? Or, as Cuttlefish mentions, there's no warden, there's no curator.
Well, one small thing I would say is with tactical focus, since they upped your total amount you can have.
And you're based at 15?
Yeah, they raised it to 15. So, I mean, you can only get 5 more, but still that, and obviously for people that don't have Cold Snap Rocket Turret 2, that is still a viable, useful thing to have. A lot of the lower stuff I don't understand. It doesn't have a lot of play. It's not going to work in most anything. Like the Vendetta, really, really. I don't know. Some of that I don't like. Much like I said before, they don't give lower players much to build upon. So.
Now, there is one thing that does stand out to me, though, because of what's going to be happening next week.
The Hedgehog?
No, the one-day Conquest Yard tokens that can be redeemed 5 times.
Sure. I have 30 or so. I don't know how many I have. I've picked up from various things, and I bought when I didn't understand what pictures meant, and that sort of thing. So I was one of those people that wasn't paying attention and thought I was getting a good deal, and I really wasn't. Maybe it was just a late bloomer of a good
But there
deal.
is a cap on how many of those you can hold. So check your stuff, if you're not capped, you might want to collab some of these just because the Conquest Yard is a freaking long build.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like 40-something days. Yeah. They need to fix that.
Yeah, they made it easier to do, but just as long to get done. So.
Okay. All right, let's move. I mean, and we were talking about earlier about getting rid of resistances, but we see these overlays.
Oh yeah.
They're still here.
They're still selling stuff that we, maybe I won't be able to use.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. All right, Siren Song. It's sort of a lot of the same shit.
Yeah.
What we've seen from the Warden started, the big difference, as we talked about in the pre-show, and Cannon Fodder brought up, and is that like the Warden has a plus 25 countermeasure reload. The Curator has 125. Now we're up to 225 as far as the countermeasure reload, and that's fairly big thing, especially because they're adding new countermeasures in. Otherwise, this is ho-hum. Besides that one factor.
Yeah, I really don't see it. I mean, most guards aren't really massive damage dealers anyway. They're just a lot of reload, so you can get a lot of your 1,000 cuts. So, but that's what really stood out for me was just immediately it was like, hey, it can replace my Warden as an anti-ship. So, just because of the extremely long build of an Omni, I still haven't built one.
Okay. But otherwise, it's sort of like what we expected. It's just,
Did anybody check the base build on that?
I can. Nope. My hands are off the wheel. I can, and however long it takes my base to load. Rating. You carry on.
I'm assuming it's like the rest of them.
Earth talked about assumptions last week. We've learned stuff. So waiting. We could work on base load times. That would help. All right, we're in design mode. Sorry.
Another interesting stat on this, though, that could give for some interesting builds is the additional scattergun range.
5 days, 17 hours with RD30 and a crew or a officer.
Mm-hmm.
So 5 days, 17 hours, 10 minutes, and 59 seconds.
So see, that's still an imbalance because, why are defender holes 3 times or 4 times almost the build time on a bear hole versus a conqueror hole?
Reasons.
You know what I mean? How are we? They say they want us to be able to adjust our base and our fleets, but they're not giving us the reduction on the base defense side.
The new turret for it, the cathodic countermeasure is like 14 hours ish, like 20 minutes.
Yeah, we'll get to that one, but yeah.
Sorry, I'm jumping ahead.
So overall,
I'll
for
have
this
to leave
hole,
soon
we're
enough.
looking at probably at least a 20 to 25 day build.
I mean, depending on what you throw it together, but yeah, I mean that's pretty. 20 days is I think pretty common. It just depends on how you build it. I mean, with only 3 armor slots, that part's it's a little. Though it limits your options on, protecting it. That part helps a little, but it only has 8 weapon slots. I mean, it's not like a hope or anything. So, but.
Yeah, I was hoping more out of this, but yeah, that's what we have. It's people like to use the term cookie cutter, and this is sort of cookie cutter. So let's move on. Let's see what else have we got. All right, sort of cookie cutter. This is the CM countermeasure for concussive and corrosive. Looks like a lot like the last one, just different reload for your scattergun and countermeasures relative to the previous 2.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I mean, it's a good one to have. You could use in multiple places. All right. The cathodic countermeasure. Cathodic means it's dealing with corrosion and deals with corrosion and concussive. I haven't worked out the numbers as far as the reload time. This is a multi-shot, which is you can use specials to increase.
Well, no. Yeah.
What?
But it doesn't deal with all concussive because
it doesn't deal with torpedoes.
Right. It also wouldn't deal with the chain gun either.
Well, like it says, the
chain gun's ballistic.
No. The one that does the multiple types of damage.
The chaos chain gun. Well, yeah, that's
right.
ballistic. Yeah. That was taken care of by the last one.
Yeah.
Hey, Father George, how are you doing?
Good evening.
Mm-hmm. How'd everything go? So yeah, we've been going on for a while. The interesting stuff I think was already passed because I think bounty is sort of like an afterthought with all the news that's been released. But yeah, we're gonna go on with the.
I'll interject real quick. Don't take this as a correlation to you coming because it certainly is not. But I do have to leave.
You son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't want to just quietly leave when you came in. I don't want you to develop a complex. I know you can be sensitive sometimes. So.
Yeah, that just destroyed my night. Where's my ice cream?
I know. Hurt your feelings. I said, okay, this too shall pass. So, anyway, good night.
Later, Ken Fire. Thanks for showing up. And yeah, George is a sensitive flower.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me, guys. Take care.
Yep, have a good one, buddy.
So, yeah, it's a multi-shot weapon, which can be helped with a lot of specials. But and I think Dr. Death, you said the previous one, what was the previous one called?
Oh, I don't remember now.
Okay. The countermeasure that was dealing with this. Okay.
But it did ballistic and radioactive, and it does work very well.
Okay. And that's the one that's supposed to deal with your chaos chain guns. The ballistic and radioactive. This one's not supposed to. I don't know. Whatever. Let's move on then. Because I think we're going to get about running out of slides. Oh, this is an interesting one. And it's a good thing that George showed up. He wrote an article on this.
Oh, you're gonna have to explain it to me because I'm sitting outside having a cigarette. I'm trying to catch up on everything.
We're talking about the Hoplite wall.
Yeah.
Oh, Thorns! Yay!
Yeah, the Thorn wall is what
Lord.
what I was trying to get across. It's like there's been an up in base damage associated with the Justice, which is the last time we saw this. And I'm not sure this was something that was really well received. It has a duration of 20 seconds and a cooldown of 35. And I don't know what this means. I'll try to do it really quickly. Is Thorns is as soon as you interact with this target, it's going to activate. And when it activates, it's creating a defense, I guess is the best way to put it, where every time you hit this target with a salvo of whatever, it's going to do its damage. And in this instance, it's a damage of 500 that it's going to do for 20 seconds.
For each instance.
Yeah,
for each. And that includes splash.
Yes. And so, every time there's a salvo, a multi-shot, or whatnot that interacts with this, it's going to do 500 damage to whoever dealt that damage. Is that correct?
Yes. So sloths are. This is going to. I think this is going
to get rid of certain kinds of sloths.
True. Yes, that's true. Certain kinds of sloths. Well, actually, it doesn't matter. So long as if the splash hits it, even for 1 point of damage, it's going to do that 500 to you. Now, what I have not gotten clarified, and I'm still waiting on an answer, is whether or not that's for each instance of damage type. That's never been clarified.
Okay. Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
That's going to be interesting.
But now here's the test, but
here's the other thing that's going to be interesting too. I see this creating a problem in base hitting because of the very simple fact that while our turrets do massive amounts of damage to get over deflections, our ship weapons don't. And look at the deflections. There's not a single mort out there that does, over 50,000 points of damage in one pellet, one part of the salvo.
I've had people disagree with me on that, and I have not spent a lot of time dealing with my sloths, but I've had people that disagree highly with me that's like, you can get way above that with your sloths. This is more
individual. No.
Okay, no, you can't. Not individually. You can cumulative damage. You can get up there, but when you take the weapon and divide it by its salvo, and come out with that base number, you cannot get over 50,000 on explosive.
Yes. Okay. That was my original question I put to them.
On a sloth.
Yeah, for a sloth. And that was the original question I put out there. But because that was my concern. This is shutting down all sloths. Because basically, if the sloths, it's this.
Well, now what's on the Witch Doctor? Because that's the primary ship right now. What is the projectile damage that you're getting off each pellet off of one weapon?
Well, the deflection damage, yeah.
Because what I'm saying is, what's the damage of the weapon divided by its salvo? So what's the base damage number that you got on a Witch Doctor's weapon on that scatter gun?
I have no idea.
I think it was I think when it broke down it was around 4,000 to 5,000. And if that's the case, then even the Witch Doctor's weapon isn't. And even if it's a little over 5,000, like say it's 5,100, how long would it take to pound through that wall with it having 2.5 million armor points?
Yeah, it's a really interesting thing that's going on here. And it really goes back to what I was talking about earlier as far as creating an interface for both PvP ships and our turrets that is reflective of deflection, not of resistances, and really change over the whole thing so players don't have to create spreadsheets and recalculate everything on their own. And this is one of those things where it's like, this came out today for me, and I haven't been able to go through all of it because I was like, you need to build everything to the maximum and then divide everything back down and then try and figure everything out. And I wasn't up for that today, to be honest. Does everybody understand?
And you posted a new thing for your blog, George? I didn't catch it. For some reason, Facebook didn't send me a thing on it.
No, it was he's talking about the Justice one from way back that explained Thorns out.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, I mean, it has a lot of pass-throughs there, so I'm kind of worried the Thorns on this one is going to be for each damage type, which makes it worse for sloths. So yeah, I don't know.
No, I'm assuming it's.
No, if it's for each damage type, though, that's also going to make it a lot worse for a lot of the Witch Doctor builds that are out there. Because they're running, 4 different types of damage on the ship right now to get the deflections.
And just to clarify too, that 500 damage bypasses everything. It goes directly to your armor.
Yeah.
And to be honest, it's really 250, right? I think that one's cut in half too. But even still, it bypasses everything.
Yeah, this looks like this could be painful.
Yeah, it's a weird one. I'm assuming they tested it at some point in time to make sure this makes sense. Because, it's something that confuses people, I think. Okay.
It was a mechanic that a lot of people still didn't quite wrap their heads around, and I think part of it is because the consistency of what we saw was not there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because didn't Thorns one day it was working and the next day it wasn't, and they kept having problems with that?
Well, I know when the Mudgluts started, it would absolutely just destroy Mudgluts. But then with direct damage weapons, it wasn't doing as much damage back. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So it was working better against splash than it was direct.
Right. Now, one thing to note is that with the Justice, if you pinched it, Thorns was paused during the pinch time.
Mm.
It wasn't immune to that mechanic. Now, whether or not that is still the same with the walls, I don't know. I mean, I would presume that the mechanic doesn't change so that pinches would still work on these. But can you kill it in time? That's going to be the question.
Or the other thing is you go and you tap it, and then you come back after 20 seconds, and then you kill it. I mean, that's
if you can do it within 35 seconds, yeah.
Or and then you go away. Yeah, you basically prep it that way by. I'm not sure if it has any indicator.
But if they actually designed this to thinking about that, then how does this fit into their whole equation of getting base hitting down to 5 minutes for prep and hit?
Oh, don't believe what they say. That's my best information for you.
Yeah, I asked for clarification on that 5-minute thing too, so hopefully I'll have that soon. I do know that the stuff for OP11, like the information on, is going to be all up tomorrow, so we'll be able to see, what they're planning and things like that. So we'll have a lot more information tomorrow afternoon, I guess.
Okay, that sounds cool.
Yeah, all the messaging should be out tomorrow, and I don't know what the timeline is exactly following that, but I'm pretty sure that it's going to be soonish after, because usually, I mean, going by history, you know, they'll do the messaging the week before. Where we're getting the messaging that late, I don't know if it's going to be next week or the week after, but I'm guessing it's going to be around that timeline. So,
yeah, this is the most interesting thing I see in Bounty, and partially because we don't really know how it works. But should we move on to the next one, Dr. Death? I don't think we have much left, do we? Okay. New FM prizes.
yeah,
This is just bullshit.
I was actually going to pop into one other thing. I believe they're moving their live stream to tomorrow to discuss all that stuff too. So
yeah, they posted on they didn't post it, they didn't pin it, but it was in the forums. It came up in the forums that they were changing to Thursday.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't think this is bullshit. I mean, you know, you threw that out there, Dr. Death. I mean,
no, putting the scattergun and putting the Cairo turret in there is not bullshit. The price they attach to it is. Because once again, we're seeing another inflation.
No, but these are okay. I consider it different. I mean, well, one thing, I don't know why the Aftermath launcher is way cheaper. That's one weird thing. But the rest of it, I'm like, they're trying to compare it to the price in Bounty and the raids, and so that's why these prices are so high. But they've been released elsewhere.
But that's the excuse they're given. But the bottom line is, every freaking time we turn around, we keep seeing more inflation. I'm sick of seeing inflation. I mean, we're going to get to the point where it's going to cost us 50 million points to do an FM in 6 months.
But
if this keeps on this path.
I think you're missing the nuance of what I'm saying is.
Oh, I understand what you're saying, but they at some point they need to stop. You know what I mean?
But what I'm saying, that they're releasing it here as opposed to releasing it elsewhere. That's what I'm saying. You know, this is for people that can't or don't want to do Bounty or the raid, and so they're releasing it here in the FM for the people that, you know, FM first and all that kind of stuff. That's why they're releasing it here, in my mind. You know, and it's an inflated price over the rest of it, but you can get, you know, if you did all this stuff, you can get everything else for 1.1 million. It's not price inflation.
Yeah, right, I mean, so long as there's a mechanic to bypass these if you don't want to get them, so you can get to your tokens, I don't have a problem with this in particular. But the other stuff that comes out in, like the Aftermath launcher came out in the FM, right? That I don't like being at 2 million. The rest of them, because it's a catch up and it's an option at that point, sure. But the Aftermath, that one I do have a problem with. That guy, I would want to see that less than the 2 million. The other two, I don't give a crap. That makes sense to me.
All right,
so long as you're not blocked by your tokens. That's the only caveat that I have with that.
Let's see what's next. Okay, base race. This is an interesting one. First time we've seen anything like this. It's great for lower level players. I mean, if you're a lower level player, you're probably not watching this show. I mean, the only thing that I would warn you against is, as your outpost grows and you still have the same level turrets, you're going to create a situation where the armor of your outpost is way larger than your turrets. So you need to keep those upgraded the whole time, or elsewise, you know, it's like you're not gonna form a bubble until your, you know, outpost is dead. And that's
but of course now with the next outpost, we may end up in that situation anyways.
Yeah, it's a whole different thing, but yeah. And the other thing, click one more time. Okay. These 3-day defense platform build tokens, you can get up to 10, so 30 days. associated with that. Which
Now, I'm still curious. Will that count Will that count the gates?
I think it's for upgrading defense platforms, but I could be wrong.
Right, but I mean, are the gates classified as a defense platform because they do have turrets on them?
I would assume that they're classified as a building until I see otherwise.
Yeah, that's yeah, they're buildings. They're gates. They're not a defense platform.
Yeah, so I'm assuming they're buildings. So you can get up to 30 days of these, which is, I mean, depending on what's happening next, it's hard to say.
Well, we know we're going to have eventually an upgrade on our turrets. So for anybody that's out there, grab them and sit on them.
There you go. Hatch them like eggs.
You know what I mean? I mean, because you can hold all 10. You can do the mastery round 10 times. You can hold all 10, which means you can be sitting on 30 days of tokens that when they roll out the next level of turrets, you're going to be able to use. Because you ain't going to be able to use base parts.
Yeah, just don't hatch them like eggs.
Yeah. I think ostrich eggs. That's what.
Oh my god. I didn't need that.
All right. Do we have anything else?
Nah.
Nope, that's it.
All right. Well, I'm going to invite anybody in case they want to join the after show.
So, George, aren't you just so excited for Bounty tomorrow?
I don't even think I'm gonna do it. I mean, I've stopped building Conqueror stuff, man. I've just stopped entirely. I don't see, the point. I mean, I do know because I did ask about the OP going up in level, throwing off our bubble pads, and I was told that they have taken that into consideration and it should be okay somehow. I'm not sure how. They haven't really clarified how, but they did take it into consideration. They were cognizant of that happening when OP 11 comes up. So that's a plus.
Well, that works. I hope that's right because, yeah,
we'll see. I mean, I don't know if, it could be either they'll ramp it up maybe when the turrets come out, or maybe they're gonna, I don't know, give us more building. I don't know. I have no idea how they're gonna do it, but I do know that they were very cognizant of it. So,
no, I just hope when something we didn't talk about in the show, but I really hope because it wasn't stated in what they initially released about OP11. I really hope we're going to get more power.
I presume so. Every time OP comes out, we get the power. Now, whether or not they scale that along with the health of it, I don't think so. I mean, I wouldn't see why they would. I would just put it out with the power of whatever the hell we're going to have. I don't really know that many people that are maxed out on power. Yeah, I mean, I'm not maxed out. Well, I guess I am kind of close.
Yeah, I'm pretty close on being maxed. I'm not there yet, but I haven't got to the point where I got to start using solar panels. But
I mean, the one that I'm a little bit concerned about is how the power level of the OP itself is, because I am maxed the hell out on the Outpost 10 power level.
Yeah. For what you can put on the Outpost?
Yeah. Yep. Yep. So we shall see. We shall see. I'm hoping they're going to come out and kind of explain to us what, because I do have a couple things that I am kind of curious about for the revamp for PvP. Like, I want to know what that reference to the 5 minutes thing was. I want to know what the reference to the resistances thing is, because I mean, all of our defense stuff is all resistances. So does that mean they're going to take everything and go all deflection now? I mean, Oh, I don't know.
Or are they just going to scrap everything previous and we have to start all over?
I don't think they're going to do that.
You know, because they're going to have to change a whole lot of stuff when it comes to base defense, from resistance to deflection. And then what's going to happen to our aura fields, you know, like for fire support, or, you know, the defense one and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I have no idea. That's, like I said, that kind of has me a little worried.
Yeah, I know.
But
I've told my alliance that, you know, don't invest a lot into the PvP side until we see what's happening.
so, I have no idea what I missed earlier in the show. So, was there anything like really good?
We were just going over the junk that was, you know, rehatching everything that was in the refactor, and talked a little bit about bounty, not really much. Key points, once again, reiterate, you can hold I think it's either 5 or 10 days of structure, not the structure, but the conquest yard tokens, and you can redeem 5 of them in bounty. And with the new conquest, the upgrade on the conquest yard coming out next week with the OP, or the week after, whichever way it goes, I recommend everybody get as many of those as they can, because the last just building that damn thing was 40 some days.
Gotcha. You guys covered the storage that's going in the War Academy, right?
Yep.
Okay.
But now, is that just storage, or are we going to get more fleet space?
No, I think it's just storage. Because I think the last time they did the storage, when they bumped it up to the 120 and then did storage, I think one of the things that we had asked was, why can't we have more? And it's something about the live part of it, the active ones, would, like, they had hit some max or something, or it does something. I can't remember what the explanation was. They actually had said it in the forum somewhere. So storage was the only place I think that they actually have an option to, unless they change something like significant. I'm going to expect it to be in storage. I wouldn't expect it in the actual fleet size, like the fleet space.
Oh, okay. Well, storage sucks. I don't even use it.
It's better than nothing. I use it. Mine's maxed out, actually. So,
Hey,
I
Mike, how's
mean,
it going?
a lot of stuff is in flux. We'll see how it goes, but you know, the one thing I was kind of curious about, and I want to see how this works out, is the whole the comment about what was it? Not using a calculator, or not needing a calculator or a spreadsheet or something like that. That's gonna be interesting, because we've been using calculators and spreadsheets in this game for years. I mean, years and years. So I don't know exactly what that is going to mean either. But I don't know. We'll see.
Of course, that's still all 6 to 8 weeks away. So
yeah, that's true. I mean, hopefully between now and then they'll start giving us some idea of where they're going. You know. So, and John, I don't know that it's going to stay at 40 days. I think that was a concern that we've been bringing up for forever, and I don't even know that it's 40 days now. Does anyone know how long a conquest job takes now?
No, I built mine when it first came out. So
let me go see if I can find out.
Was he figuring out?
How long the conquest yard takes now?
Oh, okay. 45 days?
Is it still 45 days? I thought it was less than that now. I thought they had reduced it.
I don't know. I don't have that all.
Yeah, that was because that was brought up, I mean, months ago. So I don't know that. I mean, if they're gonna make an upgrade to the conquest yard, I don't know that it's gonna I doubt that it's going to be that long. I have high doubts that they would be silly enough to make it 40 days.
Yeah, and one of the things we brought up earlier is like with all these upgrades, like because we're not getting upgrades, it doesn't appear that we're getting upgrades to our turrets. How are we going to balance everything? How are we going to, bubble pad and things like that? How are things going to be balanced?
In terms of what now?
The bubble pad, it's like like our OP is going to. We assume we're going to get an increase in health based on what they said.
No, I already said that they said they took that into consideration. I asked about that.
Yeah, but this is the same group that didn't even understand what was going on in DXP weekend, right? As far as what was going on with the bat rays, and they seem to miss a lot of shit. To be honest, could be wrong, but it just seems like they miss stuff.
Well, now you know what? I've got another concern though over all this stuff that's going on in the game. Right? They're dropping OP11 on us, and tomorrow in Bounty we get
It's
the
42
last
days. Crap.
42 days, 4 hours.
Yeah, 42 days. Yeah, I just got it.
Yeah, it's insane. But tomorrow in Bounty we get the last tier 7 hull. Right? Refactor doesn't come out until at the earliest Halloween, the end of October, which means we're going to have another bounty. Does that mean we're going to see the tier 8 tech in the game before the refactor?
Wait, say that again?
They've stated that we are getting the last of the tier 7 holes for PvP tomorrow in bounty, right? But we still have another bounty before the refactor. Does that mean that we're going to see the first of the tier 8 holes before they do the rebalance?
I don't know. That'll be interesting.
Yeah, David says tier 7.75. which is what we've seen in the past. 6.75 on like your prototype seekers and whatnot. I mean, based on past history, yeah. So, do we have anything else left for the live show? We've been going on for an hour and a half.
Trying to think. Not that I can think of.
Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you on Friday. Tomorrow night, or tomorrow, well, it depends where you are. Tomorrow evening, we're going to see another Kickside Live where they try to explain more of the stuff. And that'll be a good thing. And Friday, we'll try to talk about it a little bit more and move on from there. See what they have to say, see what they seem to understand, and move on. And
Oh, and one last thing, Kickside, because I know you're denying it, but I'm gonna tell you straight out, the freaking splash reduction on Hyper 30 is still not working.
Dude, I need some video for that. I really do, because I've had like a lot of people sent me that, and I'm like, look, I can't. I've got to be able to show them. You know what I mean? Like, I can't just be like, hey, it's still not working. And if anybody has a clear video, like a very good test of that, and I mean, like, what I would probably do is do something with like something that has a mortar that we know what the damage is before the Hyper 30. Like, I'd stick a boat in the middle, one boat on each side of another of that middle one, and then have a mortar hit that middle hull, and then compare the two damages between the two hulls on each side of it. That's the best way that I think I could easily show them that something's jacked up.
Or have two hulls, two that are stacked, and one has it and one doesn't, right?
Could, but there's a little bit more. Yeah, I don't know. That one's a little tough because I don't know if it depends on the weapon, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there are different ways to work it, but yeah, it'd be great to see if it's working or not because they did tell us it was working.
See, I wish I wasn't using this loaner computer while mine's in the shop because I would have videoed my tests that I did during BXP weekend. And I had a full fleet, 3 of them without Hyper 30, 2 with Hyper 30. The 2 with Hyper 30 were running the wing. You know what I mean? And we killed the target down to just 1 proto and then just sat there until a mort actually hit the lead ships. And then killed the proto off, went into the base, and all 5 ships had the exact same damage. And if I could have got a video of that, that showed it perfectly.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I posted I'll post the link one last time in case anybody would like to join us for the after show. See you on Friday, and good luck with Bounty. And again, the reason you're going to want to do Bounty is just because of the countermeasure reload associated with the new haul. And,
well, even if you're not chasing the new haul, you might want to get that new wall, and you're definitely going to want to get those conquest yard tokens, and you can get a big chunk of the points for that just by collecting the drip.
Yeah, definitely get the wall.
Collecting the drip is, that's going to be the new name of the show.
Oh, Jesus.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you on Friday. And in the meantime,
try not to have any nightmares of collecting Hefe's drip or anything. I mean,
we'll just be collecting the drip in the meantime. So I hope you all have a great time, and see us on Friday. And the link is on the right-hand side in case you'd like to join the after show.
Yeah, have a good night, everybody.